It was meant to be a fun shock for her. In a way it was, but it turned out to be a big shock for me instead. All told, I think we can both say it wasn't how we dreamed of spending her big 0 birthday. You know, you hear these sad tales, you read about them and think, that's tough, but you never think it will hit you. You don't expect to feel like your whole world just fell away, leaving you with this big, empty hole where your heart was. It always seems to happen to someone else. A tough ex-soldier, a cop, maybe a lawyer, an accountant, or someone who's hardly ever home. It's never about a normal IT guy with no big shots to help him out. Never about a guy who just goes to work, doesn't stick around the office more than needed, and plays a bit of D&D on weekends. You never think it'll be a guy like me. But it did happen, and there I was, standing at our bedroom door, seeing her and him together, and feeling my world just collapse. I had left work early that day, excited to surprise her. In the morning I had said happy birthday, given her kisses, and made breakfast in bed before leaving. Gwen, my wife of 6 years, didn't seem all that lively, but I thought she was just tired. After all, who doesn't like breakfast in bed, right? We said I love you, and I left, all the while thinking about how she had no clue about my plans to take her to that fancy place she adores but we hardly ever go to. She had told me she was taking off work for her birthday. I had asked a bit here and there to get my plan ready without her knowing. Going anywhere? Nope. She had said she just wanted to relax, maybe watch some shows. She really wanted to hang out later with some of our pals. For sure, she was all for it. A night out, drinks, and dancing were her thing. Chill. Watch movies. Hang out and watch movies. Man, I was so clueless not to see what she meant. Maybe she didn't mean it that way, but I trusted so easily I didn't second guess. I hinted at a surprise for her birthday, something special. But my biggest hope was to keep her from finding out I'd be home early, ready to take her to her favorite place to eat, with the necklace she'd been wanting for ages with me. If she knew any of that, especially me coming home early, I wouldn't have been the one totally shocked. Standing at our bedroom door, seeing the sun on her face and her not wearing a top, I was hit hard. How could I have seen this coming? I couldn't have. There was no sign anything was off. Yet the same sunlight showing her face, someone I loved deeply, also revealed she wasn't alone. Seeing Gwen with no clothes wasn't a surprise. She liked to sleep that way. Tiny, with a gentle look, she was just right to me. Not like the models you see all over. She was small, soft, and just beautiful. And her eyes, they got me every time, so big and full of life. But Joe, I never wanted to see him like that, ever. He was shorter than me, not too different in size, not fat, not fit, just average. But man, seeing him there, that was a lot. Joe was an old pal. He was even at our wedding, right by our side. Just a normal guy, like me. A normal guy in bed with my wife in a room that smelled like sex. The strong smell was everywhere. Gwen and Joe were both asleep, looking a mess, and the bed was all messed up. Her long black hair and his brown hair were all tangled. They were close together, as if it was cold, even though it was a hot July day. Gwen's small body was close to Joe's bigger one, his arm around her. And there I stood, just watching them sleep. I tried to make sense of the fact that my wife, the woman I promised to love, had been with Joe, a guy I never thought would hurt me like this. I felt sick. No matter how much I tried to forget by closing my eyes and breathing deep, the awful image was still there when I opened them. I felt nothing. I moved like a robot as I took out my phone and took some photos of them. Then I quietly closed the bedroom door and walked away. I needed a beer and a smoke. I hadn't smoked in years, but I really wanted one now. Gwen sometimes smoked clove cigarettes, something from her past. I found her pack, got a beer, and sat down hard in the chair. The cold beer and the sharp, sweet smoke tasted strong as I thought over what happened. Looking at the photos on my phone didn't help. Seeing it on a small screen didn't make it any less real. The numb feeling started to go away, but was replaced by a pain that came from deep inside me. What was I to do? That was one big question. Why had she done it? That was another, and for how long? That too was on my mind. And why Joe? Were there others? Oh no, I didn't even want to think about that. Each question made me feel worse. The empty feeling inside me got bigger as I sat there thinking. They both slept so deep. They didn't wake up when I got home to a house that seemed empty. They still slept without knowing I was standing at the door. As far as I knew, they were still sleeping, while I sat in my chair, feeling wave after wave of sadness. It was like being pulled down into a dark sea of sadness. I think I sat there for about 20 minutes, having a smoke and a beer, before a dark part of me woke up. I swiped my thumb and closed the photo app, then opened the text message app. Another puff from my cigarette, another moment to make up my mind what to do, and then I did it. My thumb moved fast on the small screen, then I hit send on a message to Gwen. Jack. Hey, love. Got out of work early. Home in 20. Go out or stay in. I waited. 10 seconds, 30 seconds. In the bedroom, I heard the loud chirp of Gwen's phone. She always had it loud, scared to miss a message if it was important. Soon, I heard the sound of two people moving fast in the bedroom. The bedroom door opened, and I saw Joe running to the bathroom with no clothes on. He didn't see me sitting in the living room. Good. I had more time to make them feel bad. My phone vibrated. Gwen had texted back. Gwen. Yay! Can you get wine? I looked over at the kitchen where the new bottle of red wine I had just bought was on the table. I almost laughed out loud. Gwen was in a rush to get her love out of there and clean up the mess. Jack. Red wine, okay? Gwen. Great. See you? Jack. Love you, Gwen. No words back. She didn't say she loved me too. It hurt more, making the pain deep and big with each tick of the clock. I heard more noises from the room. I put the phone down and grabbed my beer again. The cold drink helped ease my fast heart, but did zero for the tight twist in my gut. I lit another smoke just as the toilet stopped and the bathroom door swung open. Joe was back. I waited for him. Right as he was about to step from the hall into the room, I called softly, Hey, Joe, all good? I sounded cool, I thought. But his face when he saw me was priceless, a mix of shock so big I wished I could keep it forever. So I lifted the phone and snapped a pic of Joe, all bare and clueless. Jack, he began. What? I put a finger to my lips, silent. I wasn't ready to spill the beans. Was it mean? Maybe. But I didn't care. A quick tap and I had Gwen's chat open. I sent 2 quick texts. Jack. Gwen, dear? Next, I sent the photo of her and Joe together. Jack. I'm back. I looked at Joe, eyebrow up, like nothing was wrong. So, I just said, how long? He didn't catch on at once, too shocked, but right before Gwen came crashing in, he said, a bit. Then Gwen burst in from the room to stand by Joe, door slamming behind her. She was holding her phone tight. She had managed to slip into white undies and the thin silk robe of bright green I gave her 2 Christmases ago. It showed a lot of leg and was open to show her light skin. She looked so pretty. But her face, that pretty, young-looking, sweet face was full of fear and panic. Her lips shook. Those eyes I loved to look into were bigger and rounder than I'd ever seen, and my stomach twisted tight. Damn, I was the one hurt here. Why did it hurt me so much to see her like this? There was a thick quiet between us 3 for a bit before I pointed with my cigarette towards the kitchen. Wine's on the table, I said with a sad tone. Sorry, I didn't cool it down. Jack, I stopped her. You were with Joe in our bed going behind my back, and it's been going on for a while. Is that what you were gonna say? I crushed the rest of the cigarette in the ashtray harder than I needed to. Give me one reason, Gwen, why I shouldn't send those pics to everyone we know, your family and mine. Because I love you. Damn. My wife knew me too well. She knew just what to say and how, and that made the anger from feeling ashamed inside me burn more. But I wasn't going to let go that easy. You love me. You love me so much you've been with this jerk. Is that it? Well, good to know you love me, Gwen. I'd hate to see what you'd do if you didn't. The words tasted sour. Gwen didn't say anything, just closed her robe and looked down at her feet. I looked at her lover. Dealing with him right there wasn't going to happen, not with him standing there all naked. Joe, grab your stuff, get out. He, of course, tried to act the hero. With an unsure look at Gwen, he began, Jack, I know this seems bad and you two need to chat, but I'm not sure leaving. I lost it. I don't recall standing up. One moment I was sitting, the next I was right in Joe's face, yelling for him to leave. I can't even recall my words. I was spitting as I shouted. My whole body shook. I felt so hot, and my hands opened and closed tight. I almost hit him. I'm not usually one to fight. I was in 3 scraps growing up, 2 when I was very young and 1 later. I'm not good at fighting. Only the last one felt like a win. I think of myself as calm. I don't often yell or want to hurt anyone, but then I looked like I could kill. Just one word from him, and I would have gone for him. That might be why Joe and Gwen were so scared. They'd never seen me like that. Nobody had. Whatever I said, it worked. He ran off to the bedroom. Gwen went pale. She stepped away, making sure we were not close. That also hurt. I had never yelled at her or been rough. When we disagreed, I kept cool, knowing her past. Did I seem like her dad then? Was I so scary she thought I would hit her? She tried to speak to me as I cooled down. Jack, I'm sorry, this wasn't meant to. It was just for fun. I don't love him more than you, it was just a thing. My mad rush of anger cooled off. With no rush in me, my body began to shake, and my hands trembled as I looked at the hallway wall. I could hear Joe grabbing his things in the other room. And when were you going to tell me about this thing, Gwen? When were you going to say you were with another guy behind my back? I hated how rough my voice was. I was not going to let tears come. No way was I going to cry in front of her, and I sure wasn't going to show her I care. Not when it felt like I still had a knife turning inside me. She could see how hurt I was. My wife moved towards me, her hand out, trying to make me feel better. The sorry look on her face made me feel sick. It made the shame I was feeling even worse. I pushed her hand away. No, don't touch me. Not now, Gwen, just don't touch me. Tears started in her eyes as she stepped back. I felt the burn of tears in my own eyes, and my breath caught as I tried not to fall apart. I wouldn't let her see me weak. I had been tricked by one of the two people in this world I thought I could trust, and I wasn't going to be fooled by more lies. Nothing Gwen said or did could be believed now. Jack, she said in her sweet way, please, hear me out. I'm sorry. I didn't want to hurt you. Joe came out, half-dressed and looking worried. He moved past us into the living room, keeping far from me. Looking at Gwen, he said nervously, Gwen, I'll get in touch later. He saw my angry look and told me, do yourself a favor and hear her out, okay, Jack? Gwen really does care for you. Don't make any rash moves. So you sleep with my friend's wife, Joe, behind his back, making a fool of him, making him look dumb because he can't see it? That kind of dumb, Joe? I shook my head. Leave. There's the door. Go through it. Bye. He went without a word. I was left with my wife, who cheated. For a long time, we just stood there, not talking. Who knows what she was thinking? She looked sad and scared, but could I believe her? If she lied about us, how could I trust anything she said or did? My thoughts were stuck, spinning with questions and fears that I couldn't say out loud. Joe said to listen to her. Gwen said she didn't love him more than me. But did that mean she still loved him? I wasn't sure I wanted to know. It's my body, she said out of nowhere. I was shocked, but she stood firm and looked right at me. It's my body, she said again louder. I can do what I want with it. Being married doesn't mean you get to say what I do with it. That made me stop and think. No, you're right. I don't own your body, Gwen. You're not mine to control. You are your own person who can make choices about your body. I pointed to her chest. You wanted those piercings. I didn't like the idea at first, but I didn't stop you. I even started to like it. You chose for us to use protection. We've talked about what if you got pregnant and what you'd want to do, and I've agreed to everything because it's your body, your health. But I'm your man, I yelled, losing my cool. My voice shook like my hands. You said yes to me, in front of my sis, your mom, our pals, the minister and all. What about love, honor, care, leaving all else? Do you recall any of that? Did you mean it? I did. I do. But it's tough, Jack. It's not easy for me. I needed more. I couldn't let Joe go. I thought I could. I tried to stay true. I really did. Please, I'm sorry. You weren't meant to know this way. It felt like a punch. How she said she tried to quit Joe set off alarms in my head. You've been with him since before we tied the knot. Before I met you, she said low. Gwen couldn't look at me now that I knew. We had been wed for 6 years, dated for over 2 before that. So she and Joe had been a thing for nearly 10 years. Joe and I go way back, Jack. There's this thing between us. Hard to say in words. We can't think of life apart. Those big eyes begged me. But you're the one I chose to marry. You're the man I wanted as my husband. Please, you must trust me. I yanked out the small necklace box from my pants, throwing it to the floor between us. It flew open. showing the fancy neckpiece I got for her. In the daylight from the windows, the dark red and purple stones shone in the silver lacework. "Happy birthday, Gwen." I kind of remember her asking me not to go. I can hear her voice but can't remember the words or her face. I don't remember getting into the car, but I recall the feel of moving, her crying back at the house, and me in the car, making sure not to look at her. Then, I was driving away. I'm lucky I didn't crash. I snapped back to reality on the highway, not sure where I was going. I just knew I needed to get away. When I figured out where I was, I stopped at a small rest area. No gas station, just a basic building with toilets and snack machines. I walked to a grassy spot by some picnic tables. I made it to the trees and threw up. I kept throwing up until there was nothing left. I felt empty, not just in my stomach, but in my heart, too. I sat down by a tree, feeling sick all over. My throat burned from the vomit. I wished everything would just stop. "Hey, buddy!" I heard an older voice. I looked up to see a trucker walking toward me. "You okay?" I nodded, then shook my head. "Yes. No, actually, not really." He crouched down, looking at me closely. He looked like a typical trucker, big and rough, with a worn-out hat. "You don't smell like booze. Your eyes seem okay, not like you're on drugs. You sure don't look good, though. Sick? Need me to call someone?" I shook my head again and tried to smile. "No, it's more like heartsick. Heartbroken. You get it." The stranger nodded. "Yeah, feels bad, man. Sorry to hear." He glanced back towards the highway for a sec, then looked at me again. "You were swerving a lot on the road. I stopped to chew you out, but you seem sad enough already. Still, I'm not cool with you driving more. Got someone to call?" There were two people I trusted fully. Now just one. "Yeah, my sister. I'll call her." I pulled out my phone, shaky. The trucker stepped back to give me space, but stayed close, watching. I was thankful. The phone rang twice, and my sister answered. Hearing her voice, I felt better. "Hey, dummy, what's up? Thought you'd be with Gwen today." I forced a smile. "Hey, goof, things didn't go as planned." Big understatement. "Can you pick me up? And, I hate to ask, but can I stay over? Just tonight." She went silent. Silence from her is a bad sign. "What happened?" I sighed, letting the fake smile go. "Found Gwen and Joe together, in bed, an hour ago." A long, cold silence, then a loud, "She's awful!" Suddenly she was all business. "Where are you?" I felt silly asking the trucker where we were, but he just helped out. I told my sister the place, hearing her react over the phone. "Okay, I'll get the kids over to my brother-in-law's place. Tammy and me, we watch each other's kids a lot. Give me about 20, maybe 30 minutes, and I'll come." Annabelle's voice got gentle as she said, "I'm sorry, big bro." "Hey," I said, trying to sound funny but not really feeling it. "Not your fault, silly. See you soon. Love you." "Love you too, Jack." She must have been worried about me. We don't often say our real names unless it's serious. After the call, I looked up to see the trucker come back to me and sit down again. "Sorry. Didn't mean to hear, but I got enough. She went with another guy, right?" I just nodded, not able to talk. He spat to one side and said, "My wife left me too. Found a young guy and just left." He looked at me. "Any kids?" I shook my head. "No. We thought about it, but better that way, I think. My kid still hasn't got over it." He reached back, took out an old leather wallet with a chain, and handed me a card. "Don't think you know what you want yet. I didn't. But if you need, call this guy. He helped me." I looked at the card. "Thomas Lynn. Who's he?" "A divorce lawyer. A good one. Nice guy. We grab a beer now and then. Maybe things will get better with your wife, maybe not. But talking to him could help." He put out his hand. "Ted. Ted White." I took his hand. It was a firm handshake, felt right. My hand was all sweaty. I liked him. "Jack Brandt." "I need to hit the road, Jack. You gonna wait for your sister?" "Yeah. Driving seems like a bad idea now." "Sounds good." Ted got up and fixed his pants. "Take care, Jack. And remember, things might look bad now, but they often get better. At least that's what people say." Ted left, and I shut my eyes again. Resting my back against the tree, I tried to calm down. Life was all mixed up now. The one person who should have been there for me had let me down, and a stranger had stopped to see if I was okay. Everything was flipped around. For a little while, I zoned out. The noise from the cars nearby grew quiet, and I thought back. Are you here by yourself? I was surprised to look up from my beer and see a small, dark-eyed goth girl smiling at me. It was weird she picked me to talk to, out of all the guys in the bar, especially since my style was nothing like hers or theirs. Me and my buddies were all about gaming, fresh out of college. We loved tabletop RPGs, sci-fi and fantasy talk, swapping comic books and competing in card game tournaments. Some of us liked to reenact historical battles, too. We usually hung out in coffee shops and libraries. As for music, we liked a bit of everything, as long as it had depth, not just catchy beats without good lyrics. So why were we in a club where goths and the early emo crowd went? One of the guys thought it'd be fun to try something new. We joked about pretending to be vampires in our games, so why not? Hey, let's go hang out with some for real. We all laughed. We didn't want to make fun of anyone. We were just curious to see something different. We all dressed up in black leather and fishnets for a laugh. It was funny trying to see the guys apply makeup without looking ridiculous. Luckily, we had the internet, now full of how-to videos. A quick shopping trip got us enough spiky stuff to look the part. We looked all right, I guess. God only knows what the actual goth people thought about us. I didn't dress up much, not like my friends. No makeup for me. My pocket was almost empty, so I picked what I could find at the local thrift shop. Black jeans with a rip, a white t-shirt with a skull but a stain on it, a dark red and gray check flannel, and my old sneakers. Back then, my light brown hair was long, tied back with a few bands. Did I look goth? Nope. Thinking back, I looked more like a thin, sad lumberjack than a dark, fancy night creature. I sat at the bar, holding on to my first drink while my friends wandered off. I didn't feel kicked out, but I knew I didn't really fit in. So it was a shock when a tiny, pixie-faced, skinny goth girl in a stunning black old-timey dress came up to me. My heart beat faster seeing her. She smelled like flowers and spices, but also something wild. And boy, her eyes. I could have looked anywhere on her. I could have checked out her chest, looked for her legs, tried to see if she wore a corset. But I just couldn't stop looking into her big, dark eyes with long lashes. "Are you alone?" she said louder when I didn't get it the first time. The loud club music made it hard to talk. Her smile stayed put. No. Did I stutter? Yeah, I stuttered. I mean, I'm here with pals. They're around, on the dance floor, I think. But are you alone? She pushed. Oh. Surprised she asked me, I quickly shook my head. You mean, no, I'm not here with someone special or anything. Her smile got bigger but softer. She looked relieved. Good, she said. Then she sat next to me on the bar stool, bold as anything. It must have been tough with her dress's small puff at the back. We were side by side for a bit, just looking at each other, not talking. Around us, people laughed and moved fast. The music was loud, and the person making drinks gave us funny looks. At last, I felt brave and started to talk. I liked her a lot already and knew I had to say something or I might never see her again. The thought of not seeing her eyes again hurt. "I have to ask," I said nicely. "Do you have a tight dress and big skirts on under that?" She laughed at my question. "Maybe you—" I took a seat while she went to make tea. "Given it's just you and me now, Tammy and James will guess it's about me. Do they even know about Aunt Helen or Uncle Josh?" "I don't think so. We haven't heard from them since Mom passed. It hit them hard, I guess." "So about our kin? Sharon's far up north doing some helping job. Josh Jr. was in Pennsylvania messing with time stuff last I knew, and who knows where Doreen's at. Still, while James and Tammy might guess it's about you, they're the kind to stay out unless asked. They're busy with their own little ones anyway. Their smallest just hit the wild threes." "Isn't it the wild twos?" My sister laughed a bit. "Believe me, my smallest nephew is wild. She got us 2 hot teas and sat down across from me. It felt nice chatting with her, chatting about family. Just normal stuff. I could deal with that. We talked for quite some time. It was a nice break that calmed me and gave me space from my fresh hurt. But we had to face the big issue at some point. We couldn't just ignore it forever." My sister took my hand gently. "So what went down?" I took a deep breath, feeling shaky. I told her all about it, even when I got mad. Annabelle looked surprised. I began with my plans for Gwen's birthday and finished with the trucker finding me. I had more to say than I thought. I wish I could say it made me feel better, like lifting a weight off, but it felt more like I was poking at a sore spot, making it worse. Maybe it wouldn't feel so bad if it wasn't right where my heart should be. My sister, bless her, just listened. She's good at that. Not even a small hint before, huh? She said, feeling for me. Our teas were now cold, barely touched. No, I said, feeling the weight of it all again. I didn't know anything was wrong. I can't think of any hints that something was off, and it still doesn't make sense to me, you know? Sure, Joe was around a lot, but so were lots of our friends. Gwen knew him before me, but it's not like he was ever just hanging out at our place without me. Gwen didn't talk about him more than she did about anyone else. Maybe she danced with him more when we went out, but I was always there. Nothing happened in front of me. Annabelle made a face. I hate to say this, 'cause you're my brother, but what about sex? All I could do was shrug. I thought it was good. She seemed happy, really happy. She showed me a bunch of new stuff I wouldn't have thought of. I stopped, feeling awkward about spilling this to my younger sister. Annabelle just smirked a bit. Clearing my throat, I went on. I mean, at the start, it was all the time, and then it slowed down. From a lot to maybe once a week. Was that a clue? But I've heard that's normal, for things to slow down a bit. She didn't say anything was wrong, and isn't once a week still okay? Annabelle snorted. I've got 2 one-year-olds. You tell me how often Duncan and I find the time. I didn't want to dive into that chat, so I changed the subject. I can't remember what I did when I got mad. I sort of know what I said, but not really. And I don't remember walking out or driving. Shock, my sister said. She used to work with trauma patients at the local hospital until it was too much. Your brain couldn't handle what was happening, so it shut bits of it off to keep you moving. I've seen it happen. People get hurt in a crash, but they act normal because they can't deal with seeing someone they love hurt bad. Same thing here. If you keep zoning out, maybe talk to someone who can help. But for now, I wouldn't stress it too much. The thing is, big bro, what do you want to do? Annabelle stopped me from talking with a hand. You don't need to decide now. Think it over. I closed my mouth and nodded. Guess I should call work, see if I can take a few days off. And we gotta figure out how to get my car from the rest area. Annabelle and I tried to make plans. Getting time off from work was hard. I told the HR person only what I had to, asked for family leave, got turned down, but they let me use my 3 personal days left. It was Wednesday. With the weekend, I'd have until Tuesday to make up my mind on what to do next. I was emailing my boss when Duncan arrived with the twins. My sister's husband, Duncan, was quite the character. He and my sister didn't seem to match. She was tall, big, blonde, blue-eyed, and very pretty. Duncan was short, thin, looked older, and always seemed to be grinning. And he was 10 years older than her, but they were clearly very much in love. And I liked Duncan. He worked hard, was a great dad and husband, and if his laugh was loud, well, my sister loved it. That was all that mattered to me. He didn't smile when he came to talk to me. Still in his work clothes and boots, he sat down in another chair in the kitchen while Annabelle moved the kids to the living room. Hey, you okay? I let out a big sigh. Well, I'm not dead, so there's that. Duncan gave a serious nod. It's better than being dead. He looked at me hard. Let's keep it that way, yeah? I had nothing to say to that, so I just nodded. Duncan knew about my bad times. I still had marks on my wrist from high school. The first person I really loved broke my heart so bad it almost killed me. My sister knew too, but Annabelle believed I wouldn't do something dumb again. It's not like I hadn't thought about just ending it all during all this mess. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to stop feeling. But to actually try to end it all? No, I wasn't there, thankfully. Not yet. I said bye and went up to the guest room. My old room was now for the girls. That was okay. I was just happy to be somewhere safe. I shut the door, took off my shoes, and lay down. The smell of home filled my nose as I rested, and I closed my eyes to just not be for a while. I woke up scared and out of breath. The room didn't look right, and I reached out for Gwen's shoulder. Panic hit when I found her side of the bed empty, and I sat up fast to look for her. Someone had taken her. She was gone, and I felt so scared. Was she okay? Was she in trouble or lost? In the dark room, I couldn't think straight. It took a bit for me to remember. Someone did take her from me, I remembered. I hugged my knees close. I wanted to cry again, but I had no tears left. Felt dry and empty, cried lots before. It was dark, house quiet. Couldn't hear sister or her man nor the twins down the hall. Looked at my phone near midnight. Also saw no texts or missed calls. Gwen hadn't reached out. Fair, maybe. I hadn't called her either. Hurt still. Trying to shake off a bad dream, I text her. Jack. Awake, sat there, phone in hand, felt like forever, just a minute really. Could hear an owl outside, far off. When she texted back, just one word. Gwen. Yes, hard swallow. Felt a lump in my throat as I typed. Jack. Alone? Took her 5 minutes to text back, felt like hell waiting. Gwen. No, heart felt broken again, like a punch from the inside. The truth, her being honest now, didn't feel good. Thought it might be Joe with her. Why ask? Took deep breaths, thought hard what to say next. Jack. Can we talk? Really need to. Minutes passed, no word. Jack. Please? Her replay was short. Gwen. Tomorrow. Felt sick. She was making me wait. Maybe I deserved it since I left, but felt like I was losing her more. Made me think, did I ever have her? Was our love real? If she couldn't leave him, why marry me? The answer was bleak and simple. Joe's life was all over the place. He jumped from one job to another, had no car, shared a flat with 3 mates, and couldn't see a clear path ahead. Me? I had a steady job, saved up a bit of cash, and people saw me as someone you could count on. The thought that she said "I do" to me just for the safe spot I offered her was poking at me in a way that made me uneasy. Maybe I was never really her partner. Perhaps I was just her ticket to an easier life, and I was too blind to see it. The only way to find out was to have a chat with her. Jack. Morning? Around 10? I'll bring bagels. Gwen. Sure, whatever. Gwen knew just how to push my buttons. She knew what would sting. My nose started to leak. I wiped it with my sleeve and kept going. Jack. Okay. 10 with bagels. I love you, Gwen. She didn't write back. I sat there on the bed, hoping for a reply for an hour, but got nothing. Realizing she wasn't going to answer, I just lay there feeling lost. I thought to myself that I'd already lost her. Despair whispered that she was never really mine, that my whole life was a sham. All the old doubts and fears crept back, making me feel lost again. I lay there feeling stuck, visited by the kind of deep sadness I thought I had kicked to the curb a long time ago, and started to wonder if just letting go of everything wouldn't be so bad. It had been a while since such dark thoughts crossed my mind. Depression is a tough enemy, and I believed I'd won over it. But Duncan's sharp words echoed in my head. I had promised I wouldn't do anything rash, but now I questioned whether it really was so rash to want to leave the pain behind, to leave the lies, to step away from myself and let the world move on. Did anyone truly, desperately need me? As the sky began to lighten, one of the little ones started crying. The house woke up. I could hear my sister's man moving around, popping into the baby room, and chatting easy with one of his little girls who couldn't sleep. Annabelle's tired talk came down the hall. Her family was waking up around me, and soon the smell of coffee hit the room. Life didn't stop. It didn't care if I was there or not. I got out of bed feeling heavy all over. I slept bad, felt all mixed up inside, still in my work clothes from yesterday, and scared of what the day might throw at me. I felt like giving up. But there were bagels waiting. Maybe the shop would have the French toast ones I liked. Or the poppy seed ones that could make you test weird for drugs. There was a story about that, right? Anyway, there would be bagels. And sometimes, it's the little things that make you keep going. When I left the room, I almost ran into my sister. Watch it, dummy. I was just coming to get you up. She stepped back, took a look at me. Man, Jack, you look even worse than last night. I could only manage a weak smile. Shower, she said, strong. She pushed me towards the bathroom. You know where everything is. Get clean. There's a robe. Throw your dirty clothes out and I'll wash them. I just did what I was told. It felt good to have someone tell me what to do. The hot water ran over me as I sat in the tub, letting it hit my head, trying to clear my mind. It was like a kind of calm. It didn't fill the empty space in my chest. I still felt sad, but the sound of water made it easier to not think. I stayed there for about half an hour before I knew I had to get going. The house had one more bathroom, but I didn't want to use up all the hot water. I walked out wearing a white robe that I think my sister took from a hotel. In the kitchen, Annabelle had my nieces in their chairs trying to make them eat. Duncan was there with coffee and a mop. Look, she said to my messy nieces, if you don't eat, you'll look like Uncle Jack. You don't want that, right? I smiled a bit. I had seen myself in the mirror. The shower hadn't really made me look better. My sister pointed to the fridge. You missed dinner last night. There's food for you in there, chicken with rice and beans. Go eat. Thanks, I said. I heated the food in the microwave. It was 7:20. Can we get my car today? I've got things to do. No need, Jack, Duncan told me. He drank his coffee. We got it last night while you slept. One twin spit her food out over everything. The other laughed and did the same. Their parents just cleaned up after them. Going to see the bitch? It looked like that's what my sister was calling Gwen now. Annabelle wasn't one to let things go, so that name was sticking around for a while. Yeah, going there at 10. Thought we could sit and talk, try to see where it all went wrong, and if we can fix it. Do you want to fix it? Duncan's question made me uncomfortable. I'm not sure. I just shrugged. We've been together for 6 years, known each other almost 9. It's tough to let go, you know? And you still love her. My sis was sharp. Yeah, I still do. The microwave beeped, and I got the plate out to sit with them. It smelled great. My stomach rumbled, happy at the thought of eating, especially since it was one of Duncan's meals, not my sis's. Annabelle can't even boil water, making the idea of eating nice. It tasted as good as it smelled. On the other side, I started after my first bite. It was hard to say it out loud. On the other side, from what she told me, she's been with him for more than that. Probably around 10 years, I guess. Which means she's lied to me all this time. Annabelle's eyes got big with shock and anger. 10 years, Jack? She's been sneaking around for 10 years? And you didn't see? That was not the right thing to say. My hunger went away and I slowly put my fork down. To be fair, her hubby said gently, we didn't see it either, Annabelle. And that's a lot of time to keep a thing like this hidden. Plus, if she's been with this guy before she even met your brother, there wouldn't have been any difference for Jack to spot. My sis backed down. I'm sorry, Jack. I can't believe she's been doing this for so long. If I find out someone knew about them the whole time, I'm going to be so mad, I swear. The little ones were getting fussy with all the noise and started to reach out to their mom. She cleaned their faces and hands as she kept talking. Smiling wide, she touched her nose to each of her daughter's noses in turn. Would you like to help Mommy with a task? Yes, you would, I know it. As the parents cleaned up their kids' mess, I just sat there not eating much. I tried to eat more because I felt my sister's eyes on me. I've got work, Jack, Duncan told me. You can stay here tonight if you need to, but don't forget that's your place too. Don't let her push you away. Annabelle agreed. We need to get going too. The twins have a friend to meet today early and we should head out. Do you need help with them? I asked, wanting to help. She said no. I've got it, but maybe take a walk before you meet her, she suggested. I nodded. I didn't finish my breakfast, so I wrapped it up and put it aside. Duncan threw my car keys to me. I hugged my sister and kissed my nieces quickly. Jack? My sister called out softly as I went to change. Yes? Annabelle paused. Just don't do something dumb, okay? I smiled a bit. I promise. Joe, Duncan, and now Annabelle. They all told me to not do something I might regret. But what counts as dumb? Leaving Gwen upset yesterday could have been dumb. Was I thinking of hurting myself? It was a dark thought in my mind. Feeling down made me think maybe life wasn't worth it if someone you trust could lie to you for so long. It told me no one would miss me for real, that no one needed me. Gwen had Joe, Annabelle had her family, and my friends would keep playing their game as if I was just gone. These thoughts, once buried deep, came back. No therapy since college, yet here they were again. Was hitting Joe a dumb idea? It might make me feel a bit better or less weak, but what if he beat me? Feeling worse was a risk, and if the cops got called, or worse, what if I went too far? Then, there was Gwen. Was it dumber to give her a shot or to just end things? The card from that trucker was still in my wallet. Should I call him first, or would waiting be worse? I sat in the park for a while, lost in thought. Meeting Gwen wasn't a dumb move. It had to happen, no matter how much I dreaded the answers to my swirling questions. Luckily, the coffee shop line was short today. Grabbing tea for me and coffee for her, plus some bagels, I headed back to face my wife. I got home just before 10, finding Gwen in the kitchen. Her black hair was neat and she wore simple clothes, not her usual style. Without a word, I set her coffee down and put the bag of bagels between us. "We need to talk," I said gently. Gwen huffed. "You didn't want to talk yesterday. She was mad and she had a point. Why was she mad? I got hurt in all of this, but I tried to stay cool. No, I didn't. Yesterday, yes, I needed space. To think. You left me. You were mad, then you just left me here to cry." Gwen wasn't making this easy. I took a sip of my tea, wishing for more honey. "Can you blame me?" I asked, straight up but not mean. "I come home to find my wife with one of our mates, and she's been with him since we got married. How was I supposed to act, Gwen? What did you think would happen when you got caught? Sorry if I left when you needed me, but you hurt me. It still hurts." I gave her a hard look. "What would you do?" She sank back, not looking at me. "Doesn't matter now, I guess." Gwen peeked at me, sad. "So, what now?" "Depends," I said, pushing my tea away and leaning in. "You said you still love me. Is that true, Gwen?" Her smile was sad. "I never stopped loving you, Jack." That was something. It hurt, but it was something. Next, I had to ask the big thing. It was more of a point than a question. "But you love Joe too." She couldn't look at me. It took a few tries, her voice low. "I do, just not the same. Hard to explain, Jack." "So, he's better in bed?" "No." "Not better?" I pushed. "Different, that's all." It didn't seem bigger. Gwen rolled her eyes, still not meeting mine. "Man, Jack, it's not about how big. Guys think about that way more than girls do." I wasn't backing down. "So he's bigger?" She looked at me straight, annoyed. "Yeah," she said in a mocking tone. "His thing is 12 feet long and as thick as my leg. He can please 10 women at once with it." "Is that what you want to hear, Jack? Will that make you feel better?" "Gwen, just tell me the real deal." I was getting mad. "Why have you been with him all this time? What was I not doing? Was it not enough sex? Was it bad? Did I not hang out with you enough? Did I not care enough? Am I not good enough for you?" With each question, she shook her head, her hair moving with her. "No, no, no. You think marriage is just about who gets to be with me, Jack? No! Maybe I thought we had some rules, Gwen, but I thought marriage was about trust. Now I find out it's all been a lie. Before we go on, I need to know why." I was shouting, but I tried to calm down. "Is that too much to ask?" Gwen was silent for longer than I liked, but I let her think. "He's not bigger than you," she finally said. "You're about the same. Maybe you're a bit thicker." She took a deep breath, trying to keep going. "And we never laughed at you, Jack. Joe and I never made fun of you. We just didn't. It wasn't talked about. You weren't talked about. We never thought you'd find out. We didn't want to think about you finding out. You were happy. You didn't need to know. We were happy. You and me. Joe and I were happy. You and Joe were cool. So we let it keep going." She still hadn't told me why. I really wondered if she knew. "So what now, Gwen? What about us, about our marriage?" "What I want? I don't think you'd agree, Jack." She had to be joking. I knew she wasn't, but it sounded so crazy I couldn't believe it. "You want things to stay the same? You want to stay my wife and keep seeing Joe?" "Well, not exactly on the side. If we're being open..." "No way, Gwen. I don't know what odd stuff you've been checking out online, but no. We'd still be close, Jack," she said. "You're my husband. I want you happy. But you'd prefer Joe. I'd just get sympathy from you." Worried, my wife moved her chair closer. "No, Jack, it's not like that. It's 'cause I love you. I do find you hot. I like being with you. It's just that Joe, he's something different I need. He's the spice. You're the rest." This all made my head hurt, and her last words were not what I wanted to hear. "What if I found someone else, Gwen? Someone who does for me what Joe does for you? Who adds that spice?" I saw she looked a bit jealous, and with a tough voice, I kept going. "Hypothetically, how would you feel? Me with another woman?" "No!" Her face showed she really didn't like the idea, making it clear she was totally against it. "Why not?" I pushed. "If you can be with Joe, why can't I find someone? Why should I let you do this in our marriage if you won't let me do the same? It's not the same. Joe and I go way back, Jack. She thought we were still pals. No way," I snapped. But Gwen didn't stop. "A random lady from a bar can't match us. She won't share what we have with Joe. She's a stranger to me." Could she not see her selfish ways? Plus, you'd never do it. I know you, Jack. You're a one-lady guy, always have been. Silence filled the air again, thick and heavy. My heart sank. She was right. Even if Gwen was okay with me seeing someone else, I wouldn't. But it also made something else clear to me. You're right, I said, breaking the silence. I wouldn't. And the person I thought I married wouldn't either. Guess she's not real. I got up and pushed my chair in. I felt her eyes on me. I'll be in the guest room until we sort out the house stuff. She looked confused. What do you mean, the house? And you can't be serious about the guest room, Jack. We're married. We're not, I said calmly. Maybe a paper says we are, but really, I shrugged, feeling lost again. You might know me, but I don't know you. We can get another paper that says we're not. Her face turned white, and she stood up, shaky, holding the table. She didn't see this coming. Divorce? No! Jack! What? I've got a lawyer ready! That was a stretch, since I hadn't called him yet, but his card was burning a hole in my wallet. I'll ring him and start things moving. Maybe you should get one, too. What about we try talking to someone, or just us taking a long trip, just us two? We can fix things. How can we fix anything, Gwen? I snapped at her, my teeth tight, feeling bad inside again. You've been lying since we started. How can I trust you now? Even if you left Joe, which I doubt by how you talk, how can I know for sure without always looking around for him? And if you did that with him, who else did you do it with? Her slap took me by surprise. Gwen went from scared to mad real fast, and though she was small, the slap made my cheeks sting. I'm not a whore, she yelled, crying hard. There's been no one else, just you and Joe, that's it. You can be mad, Jack. You can hate me for hurting you, and I get it. She pointed at me. But don't you dare call me names like that. She hit me. I couldn't believe it. She grew up in a rough home and swore she'd never be like that. I looked at her shocked, then I got mean. Cheating and hitting? Looks like you do have some of your dad in you, Gwen. My wife cried out like I'd hit her. That was low of me. Her dad was a bad man, she had told me. The look on her face said my words hit hard, but it didn't make me feel any better. A sad cry started to come out of her. Then I heard a quiet cough from the next room. It made me shut my eyes and take a big breath. Gwen had sent a message that she wasn't by herself last night. He's still here, isn't he? Gwen didn't move, just crossed her arms. Her quiet words were sharp. Yeah, Joe's still here. He came back for me last night. Not like my husband. The bad guy stood in the door wearing jeans and a t-shirt. He looked scared, but he spoke with a kind of calm. Gwen, this isn't good. I think you should let me talk to Jack. I looked at him, shocked. Why should I listen to anything you say? Do you still love Gwen, Jack? His question made me mad. Yes, I said. I do, but I thought I knew who I had married. She's the same person, Jack. She's still your wife. She's still the one who loves you. He opened his hands like he was showing me something big. You're just seeing more of each other. It's not nice for either of you, but you still love each other. That's why you'll want to hear what I have to say, Jack. Maybe I shouldn't have been so shocked that Gwen had been with Joe for so long. True, we weren't the best-looking people, but he always knew what to say. He sounded so real every time. I checked myself again. I looked at Gwen on my left, then at Joe on my right. Everything in me wanted to run out of that room, sure that nothing good would come from talking more, and that I'd be hurt in the end. But another part of me wasn't ready to let go yet. 8 years with Gwen, 8 good years. I stepped back and stood by the kitchen counter. Your turn, Joe, I said, waving my hand his way. Tell me why I shouldn't end things with Gwen. Gwen sat down again, her legs crossed and arms wrapped tight in front of her. Joe nodded, took a breath, and stood by the doorway to the living room. You say you love Gwen, Jack, he started. But what do you love about her? So much, I replied. It wasn't a new question for me. I'd thought about it a lot to make sure I wasn't taking her love lightly. Where do I start? Her laugh, her eyes, they drew me in first. How she looks peaceful sleeping near me. Her choice in music. How she sings wrong in the shower just for fun. We like the same movies. I even go with her to dance, not 'cause I like it, but 'cause I love watching her dance. She trusts me, doesn't get mad about my women friends, not like my exes did. I skipped talking about my first girlfriend. That hurt was its own thing. What else? She's cool with me playing D&D every Saturday. And I stopped thinking hard. I shut my eyes, pressing my nose. I've been so dumb, Joe. You didn't join our game 'cause you liked Pathfinder better, because that's when you hung out with Gwen, right? Joe just nodded, no sorry in sight. Yeah, hours alone, every Saturday. It wasn't just hooking up, Jack. We did stuff, like real dates. But now, let's stick to what you love about Gwen. Hearing this hit me hard. The gang I played games with stuck together for years, even though people would come and go. Maybe someone among the 20 or so past and current members knew about Joe and Gwen and just didn't say. I found it hard to answer Joe when he asked what else I loved about Gwen. I said it quiet, looking down. I loved that she was always there for me. Gwen made a tiny noise like someone stepped on her toe. I loved being there for her, too. I loved that we trusted each other so much. We could share anything. We never really fought. Sure, we'd get mad or impatient with each other, but it never turned into a big fight. We could talk and be real with each other. I had to take a deep breath before going on. I had a tough time trusting people before I met Gwen. With her, though, it felt easy. I trusted her. I must have looked so sad. I trusted you, Gwen. Then my wife talked again. She seemed less angry now, more sad. We wanted to tell you, Jack, she said softly. We never talked about you behind your back, but we did talk about telling you. We didn't know how without making you feel bad or embarrassed. We got scared it would end up hurting you like this. And then, over time, we just kind of hoped it wouldn't come up. Joe actually smiled a little, which surprised me. There were a few times you almost found out, he said. Like when you were sick or a game night got called off. Once I had to hide in your closet for hours while you two were... Well, you know, I really didn't want to know that much detail. Thinking about how many times Gwen and I were together just after Joe had been with her made me mad. I guess Joe saw that in my look, making him stop smiling and look away. Know what's sad, Gwen? I said, looking her right in the eyes. If you and Joe had just told me all this from the start, when we first got together and been straight with me. I had to laugh then, not because it was funny, but because I couldn't help it. I might have been okay with it. Really, I think I'm pretty chill. You got me into some wild stuff over the years. You might have got me to try this too. A three-way. You, me, and Joe. Why not? A Gwen in the middle of me and Joe. But you didn't tell the truth. It hurt more taking it in than when it first hit me. You lied for 8 whole years. And here's the thing, Gwen. If you had just come clean last week, I might have gone for help. If you had told me yourself before I found out by chance, I'd have tried. We'd need to talk a lot, sure, and we'd need to figure out what Joe's part in all this would be. But no, I found out because of an accident. If not for that, you'd still be lying, Gwen, and I can't keep going like this. Joe stood up tall, looking serious. But don't you want to know why, Jack? No, I don't care. It does matter, he yelled back. It matters to me, to Gwen, too. Think about why I want you two to stay married. I love her so much I can share her because she loves us both. Her being happy depends on both of us. If you leave her, you're going to hurt her more than she hurt you. I found that hard to believe. Yet my feelings were all over the place. I swung between mad and sad with every word, my stomach turning. It mattered so much to them. What about me? Fine. Want me to ask why, Joe? Again? Okay. I'd moved from leaning back to standing close. Joe was just a step away. But I was nearer to Gwen, so I turned to her with my burning question. If you love Joe that much and have been friends so long, why'd you marry me and not him? That question caught them off guard. They looked at each other, worried. But Gwen stood tall and answered, Because, Jack, you give me things Joe can't. I need someone stable, someone who's always there for me, who cares for me as I do for them. I want a family, and that's you. It's always been you. And what's Joe give you, Gwen? My voice might have sounded as bitter as I felt. What can he give you that I can't? Joe? Joe makes me feel free, like we're the only two people in the world. She lifted her chin, bold. But much as I love him, he'd be a bad dad. I want kids, not now, but someday. When we're ready. It felt like a punch. When she said we're ready, it didn't include me. I couldn't even think straight. I'd never been so shocked before. You were gonna have me believe Joe's kids were mine? She looked small and unsure all of a sudden. Maybe they'd be his, maybe yours. I wouldn't care whose they were, Jack. I'd love them just the same. But you'd be the better dad. Joe cut in. And you are. Look at me. I write for a living. My job takes me here and there. I can't have my own spot. I live by the day, my car's about to break every time, and I like it that way. But I do want kids. I've always wanted them, but I know I'd be a bad dad. Do you know how hard that is for me, Jack? To stand here and say that you're the better guy? We would never really know if the kids were mine or yours, Jack. Maybe some would be mine and some yours. It wouldn't matter. I'd say they were mine. You'd think they were yours, and hey, no one else needs to know. I'd know they had a great guy to take care of them. Too much was just too much. I can't take this in. I really can't. This is crazy. First, you two go behind my back. Then you make me feel like I'm the bad one when I find out. Then you say I'm dull. That's not what I said, my wife cut in. And now you say that you were going to trick me into taking care of another man's kids because he's too lazy to do it himself. What? Were you two planning to just go off and have fun, leave me holding the baby? This can't be real. They both got so loud they almost drowned each other out. Jack, man, no. Gwen and I didn't plan that. You don't understand? Oh God, Jack, we didn't want that. Please, try to see.